showtime! Woo! 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 Styling and profiling. Woo! It's live and in color. Woo!
Welcome to the AFC Overtime, brought to you by the Mafia Sports Report. I'm your host, Tommy, and by my side is Mr. Curtis. Mr. Curtis, what's going on, brother?
Hanging in there, bro. It's good to be back with you on this crazy live stuff you got me pulled into.
It's been what, 3 weeks since we last did our AFC Overtime show, and not a lot going on, but there is some interesting news in the AFC and really the NFL. But I do want to start with some light kind of news. Broncos selling their team $4.65 billion. That's with a B, Curtis.
What am I making 2 weeks?
Oh my God, big money. Hey, Mike, what's going on, brother? Glad you're on here, man. But yeah, man, $4.65 billion. They're talking about bringing in Peyton Manning as an advisory or whatever. What do you think? Do you think that means Elway's out the door, or they keep Elway in place? What's your thoughts about that, man?
I hate to say it, I've never been a fan of Horseface. Great quarterback. I just never liked the way he came into the league. And, I don't really like him. So I hope he gets the axe and then Peyton comes in. I mean, I like Peyton. He's a much better guy. I don't know if he's as good a quarterback. He's, in the same league. But just imagine if you have Elway and Peyton in the same building. That's too much ego. I don't think they can last together.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But to Elway's credit, he did still bring them a few Super Bowls, including one as a GM. When he brung Peyton Manning, by the way, in. So I don't know if Peyton Manning would let him go, because maybe they got a good relationship.
That's true,
when he brung him in, as a quarterback from out of Indy, right? So when a lot of people were writing Manning off, right, at that time because of the neck injury, coming off the neck injury, and the Colts moving on.
My Dolphins tried again. They struck out again.
Struck out. Yeah, your Dolphins seem to strike out a lot.
We are the Whiffers.
Daniel coming in. I wonder if the acquisition of Russell Wilson raised the price any. What do you think about that? That's a good
definitely had to. Could you? I mean, would you? Once you bring a guy like Russell Wilson in, you're coming in as an owner, and you're going to have like 5 or 6 years at least, some like being relevant. But because at that point before that, it was pretty ugly. There's no quarterbacks. I don't think they raised it $1 billion, but I think it definitely made maybe a little bit of a bidding war between a couple parties.
Yeah, I definitely think it helped a little bit. And I think the people that bought it, I want to say they own Walmart, or they're part of Walmart, or something. That. So, yeah. So they, what's $4.65 billion to
among friends,
It's like change. It's like, yeah, it's like couch change to them.
Like they got that. So funny. There are actual countries, like lots of countries in this world. They don't even make $4.6 billion a year as a country, and then some guy comes in and spends it on a football team. That's mind blowing.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I know that, Curtis. Also, something that's interesting. You were talking to me about it. Now, I briefly heard about this, the Brady thing. So Tom Brady to the Dolphins. Now, I heard it was a rumor at first, but then when Brady came out and kind of said it was true, man, that's really interesting. Another kind of knock on Tua, to be honest with you. What's your thoughts about the whole Brady Dolphins offseason situation?
I don't think look, you could take 20 quarterbacks in this league, and if a coach had a chance to get Tom Brady to like, sorry, son, you got to go, even at 40-something years old, 43, 44, whatever he is. I don't see it as a knock on Tua. I see it a knock on Greer, Ross, and Brady. Because Brady bold-faced lied. Like, they asked him, like, what, yesterday or the day before, was there conversations between you and the Dolphins? He's like, well, there were conversations with a lot of teams. And so, if it wasn't true, he would say, it's not true. So he said he was leaving to be with his family. And then all of a sudden, when Flores puts out the lawsuit, a few weeks later, all of a sudden, he's like, I'm back again, guys. So he clearly was having a plan with Ross beforehand. I think it's real that Ross was trying to get Flores in there to have a conversation behind the scenes. And then Brady was trying to make a move with Sean Payton to the Dolphins. And Ross, I love Tua. He's my guy. And then all of a sudden, he's in the background doing what he did with Watson and everybody. Ross is a snake. Greer's a snake. And Brady appears to be a snake too. I mean, you just don't operate like that unless something's going on. So I don't think it has anything to do with Tua. I mean, who's not going to trade Tua for Brady? But
I gotta tell
love him and draft him, and Flores hated him and everything else. They're constantly being involved with trying to get this quarterback and that quarterback. It makes no sense.
I gotta tell you, Curtis, you just won the hearts of a lot of Bills Mafia by saying Tom Brady is a snake. Hold on, guys. Hold on real quick.
Uh-oh, the dog. She's demanding. Tommy's got to go to the girl. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a momentary break in our broadcast here because dogs come first. We are a pet-loving organization here.
Yes, we are. And by the way, guys, adopt.
Definitely.
Adopt your pet.
Definitely.
All right. Sorry about that, guys.
Some of the best humans on this planet are dogs.
My lawn man wanted his $20, which, by the way, is the cheapest.
$20. Well, lawn man's important too.
Hey, by the way, guys in the chat, I can swear that I'm a little choppy here on my end. If I'm freezing, let me know, please. I think Curtis, am I good on my end, man?
Nah, you look great, dude. You look good.
Oh man, what a nice guy. But yeah, man, listen.
You're the good-looking side of the duo over here, man.
Yeah, going back what I was saying, man, listen. You definitely won the hearts of Bills Mafia because if one guy we despise is Tom Brady, so they don't mind.
We're in that together, man.
But when that story came out, I remember thinking, man, like this guy Tua can't catch a break, man. Like first it's Watson. Well, no, let me take that back. First, it's do we start him? No. Do we put him in? Yes. Now we take him out for Fitzpatrick for like important parts of the game. Now we put him back in. Now we're talking about trading for Watson. Now we're not talking about trading Watson. Now we are talking about trading Watson. Now we're talking about Tom Brady. It's like, man, like, listen, get rid of him then. If you don't want him, cut him loose, go with Teddy Bridgewater, draft another quarterback, and start over. Stop playing the games because I feel like it's just been a game.
Well, you got to remember, Stephen Ross is a guy who's highly concerned about his image. He's a business guy. He's a suit. And so his image, and whether it's real or not, he don't care. So he's after all that came out, he's got to keep Tua and pretend like he's the good guy and Flores is the bad guy, and we're doing everything for him because we've always been behind him. You know what I mean? Like if the coach wanted Watson, there's no way this happens unless the GM and owner are behind it. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I hate to say, there's so many good Finn fans that are just so desperate. They're so tired of it. And they just want to go, you know what, Flores is the bad guy. He's the bad guy. Everything he did was wrong. He was totally evil. Greer was just getting bullied, and Ross wanted to do what was right. And now that Flores is gone, everybody's good. but it's not reality. If you follow the trails intellectually, it's not real. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah.
I expect the Dolphins, to be hunting for quarterbacks forever.
Yeah, an angry Buffalo sports fan coming in saying Tua was treated like the redheaded stepchild.
It doesn't make any sense, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the way the Dolphins run thing. I think Greer and Flores had a plan, and Ross was impatient. He wanted Burrow. He saw Burrow and Herbert taking off, and then he got antsy and he tried to force Tua in, and it just created a disaster. I don't think Ross is a bad guy in a sense. He's trying to do everything he can to win, but it's always like a suit. Deceitful, lacking wisdom, not football knowledge.
I don't know about your channel, but here every time like we bring up Tua, it's a hot topic. Like Tua, it's so weird for a guy that doesn't play for the Buffalo Bills. Clearly, he is like when I bring his name up, man, people get going in the chat. It's like I don't know what it is. He has this like thing about it. I think it's just an interesting story with him. Just I think from the get-go, like the tank for Tua, right? And then you guys draft him, and then the whole first season was just so weird. And I think people are just so intrigued on like what is going to happen with Tua. Like I think, and maybe that's probably not just Buffalo Bills fan. That's probably I'm thinking all over. Like it's an interesting topic when it comes to that quarterback position in Miami. And you know what's funny? Real quick, I pulled up this list the other day. It was an article, Curtis, on teams going from a franchise quarterback, like after a franchise quarterback leaves, the next quarterback up. And my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. And I was thinking, and on our list, Buffalo was Todd Collins. So when Jim Kelly retired, Todd Collins was the next guy up. And I mean, right. Well, no. Who was after Marino? Was it Fiedler? Who was the next quarterback? Like instantly coming and play. It was following him.
It was
bro.
Fiedler.
Was it?
Yeah, Jay Fiedler. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know your Dolphins, but the point is the list was very bad. There was very few quarterbacks where you're like, okay, like Joe Montana, Steve Young. Like that was a good transition.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right. But if you look at like Buffalo, for instance, we haven't had a franchise quarterback till now we could finally say it, Josh Allen. But look how long it takes certain teams to finally get a guy where you could finally say a franchise quarterback, not a good quarterback, not a quarterback. Oh, he can get you to the playoff quarterback or a game manager. I'm talking about a franchise quarterback. And I still think Miami's looking for that. I don't think Tua's it. And I could be wrong because, mind you, Tua is young, but I still think he falls in the line of like the Tannehill, where I think he's going to be okay and he may get you in the playoffs, but I don't know if he's that franchise guy. He's Dan Marino.
He's a system quarterback.
Right. And is that what you want?
So it depends on the system.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You can win. You could do well with the system quarterback.
Eric Mitchell? Does he mean Scott Mitchell? Scott Mitchell. Right? It was because Scott Mitchell went to the Lions, correct? Or no. Mitchell came in for an injured Marino.
Yeah, that was back in the 90s. And then he went to the Lions. Then he got hired and he got kicked out of the league.
Marino was still playing though when Scott Mitchell was still playing with the Lions. So I don't think it wasn't Mitchell. When Marino retired
in 99, I think it's Jay Fiedler.
I'd have to check. Yeah, look it up. I'm curious. Who was the quarterback to take his place right after? I'm very curious. Let's see here. Mike Farrar coming in. Tua, Baker, and Murray are too small for a long, healthy career in the NFL.
Yeah, Jay Fiedler came in.
Oh, wow. Fiedler. Jeez.
And they had Fiedler and Ward. And
you know what?
Ward.
You're right, because I talked to Captain D the other day about your quarterbacks, and I totally forgot we talked about this, and he was like, yes, because the Dolphins played the Jaguars, because I believe Fiedler was on the Jaguars, and he had a good game against you guys. and you guys gave him a good contract right after. And Fiedler was your guy right after.
Let me tell you something. I really have not put the Dolphins down ever until Dan Marino got ousted by Two-Face Wannstedt, and he got brought in. And I was in a hotel in Miami, and I got up the stairs, and there was a magazine. It said Marino who, and it had Jay Fiedler on the cover. So that's it. I don't think I watched more than a couple of games for like 2 years. Once we got
funny, funny story though, Curtis, on that. So do you remember a guy named Derek Rogers who played for the Dolphins?
Yeah, linebacker.
Okay. So back in the day when me and Captain D played basketball, we played in Florida because that's where I grew up in. Now I'm in Michigan, Detroit. Anyways, we played in a city called Tamarack, Florida, which if anyone knows Florida, Tamarack, decent area. Miami Dolphin players used to go and play basketball at the park we used to go. Derek Rogers, Jason Taylor played one time. Jason Taylor's sister used to go over there. Joy Taylor, who's on Colin Cowherd show. But we played basketball with all these guys. Let me tell you something. Cocky as hell. Like, I'm going to tell you right now. Not very good at basketball. But I had to ask him. I had to. So we're going to get water. And Jay Fiedler's your quarterback. And I said, you really like Jay Fiedler as your quarterback? He's not very good. I don't care because I'm a Dolphin fan. And they go, yeah, man, you got a problem?
That's what they said?
You got a problem with it? And I said, what am I going to, bro? Derek Rogers was huge. I'm not going to pick a fight with Derek Rogers. So I'm like, okay. I just said, okay. I go, okay. I said, but oh my God. But if you're listen, they're going to back their quarterback. It's your quarterback. He's the leader on the team. But man, listen, he was terrible. That team was built on defense, and that was brought on by Jimmy Johnson, who left your coach.
I mean, the defense that he drafted was so good.
Yeah. I'm not a Dolphin fan, guys, but I grew up in South Florida. I had to unfortunately hear all the, the Dolphin talk. So that's why I know what I know about the Dolphins. And I hated them, growing up there. It was the 90s Buffalo Miami games were unbelievable. Like the Patriots were terrible back then. So like Buffalo and Miami that was it. Like we cost the Dolphins. Yeah, we cost the Dolphins probably another Super Bowl, a trip to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
At least one.
92 was our last real year.
Yeah. So, and then the drought years, I think Miami snuck a couple playoff games, but they were just as bad as us. They were always, I know you guys got in a few times with Fiedler, maybe once or twice, but it wasn't a lot.
The last playoff game we won was when we ran to a victory. I think it was like 2001 or 2002.
Yeah. It was crazy, man. But moving on, man.
Mike Ferrer was saying that 2 is too small. I think that if you look at different molds, you look at Breeze and you look at Wilson, small guys can make it. The thing is,
the question. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I forgot about the question. I apologize, man.
The thing is, you have to have a special asset. For Wilson, it's the mobility and just the ability to throw deep. And then with Breeze, it was, his mechanics and throwing mechanics and platform hygiene was so good, dude. It's unbelievable. And his ability to dissect plays and pre-snap and post-snap reads was able for him to compensate for the weakness. Tua, he's got to find something to compensate. I don't know if he can. The one thing I like, though, protection and accuracy is key, and a run game. I think with Tua, it's like, I don't know, if you ever play video games, like I love video games.
Oh, yeah. We run
you make your character, and you got to find some way to make him successful. He has to be either the fastest guy or a little fast, a little strong. You make him different, and you find that little mold. But Tua, the way I see Tua being able to find success is through the play action, through the run game, and his quick release. If you go back and watch, his release is so fast. There's so many times the guy who's about to be sacked, an arm comes out and drops and lets it go. Mm-hmm. And when you run RPO and you run play action, the ability to set, plant, and release, if it's really crisp and fast, it gets into those little windows that can be opened up through play action and all kind of different other ways. And so this is a way for him to get it done and to be successful. Now, his negative is from college. If you look at him in 2018, his mechanics were much better. But once he started getting injured and you get the screws and the wire, the tightrope surgery, his mechanics started breaking down. And when it was pressure and sometimes even not pressure, his mechanics and platform hygiene just fell apart. And it causes him to have decent accuracy still, but the ball location falls away. So if he could become like Breeze as far as his platform and get pretty good at pre-snap and post-snap read and let that quick release work through the RPOs with a successful run game and the play actions with a successful run game, he could be pretty good. But Miami, they're idiots. They don't know how to build an offensive line, and I'm afraid it's going to be another year of that. I was checking Herbert, and I did a podcast about it. Herbert is bigger, stronger, fast. Everybody will say he's the better quarterback, whatever, you know. But if you look to see the offensive line they built for this guy, it's unbelievable. Rashawn Slater is like going to probably go to the Hall of Fame. They got Lindsley at center. They got Zion this year, and they got another dude from the Steelers 2 years ago. They amped up that offensive line for the guy who's supposedly bigger, stronger, and faster. And for Tua, they just like piecemeal the thing, and it's a disaster. If this offensive line doesn't come through, there's no hope for the kid. And I don't know if they can build it.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll be good.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, on small quarterbacks, right? There's been a handful, right? Like throughout football. And not all of them are fragile, right? We'll talk about Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie never really got hurt. Doug Flutie was a one of the toughest little dudes
I love
ever.
That dude.
And he did everything. He was not scared of anyone. Now, was he the best quarterback? No, but he was a gritty, tough little dude, man, who didn't really get hurt. Then you got guys like, Drew Brees, who got hurt once, but after that, a lot of people didn't think he'd make a bounce. He didn't come back. Dolphins didn't want him because they thought he was done. And look what happened to him. So, and then you got Russell Wilson, who's short and stocky, kind of like he has a good build to him. He doesn't really get hurt. My problem with littler guys, is the thinner guys that already have injury history coming out of college. That's usually like a red flag for me. Like Tua already had like a major injury, and I think he had 2.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one. And then the other thing I kind of don't like about short quarterbacks is offensive lines seem to be getting bigger, taller. And I kind of feel like when you're like under like a shorter quarterback under 6 foot, it's going to get harder for them to see over the line without having to take more steps back or roll out of the pocket more often. And I think maybe that's why Tua off his first read struggles a little bit, because he has a tough time making those adjustments over the line. And I don't even think the Dolphins have a tall line yet, but it seems like that's where the NFL's heading to. Bigger offensive linemen, bigger guards. Like guards normally aren't big, and now they're getting to be like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". And now you got a quarterback who's under 6 foot. He has to see over that. And then you also got defensive line and defensive edges like Gregory Rousseau, 6'7", batting passes down, right? So, and then not even mention that, batting passes down. So I think they have a little bit of a tougher time than a taller quarterback would.
Bigger, stronger, faster is always better.
Yeah, but as far as injuries go, I think that depends.
He's a big guy, though. He's only 6 foot 217.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 217 pounds at 6 foot. He's a thick dude, but I don't know about his bone, because everybody's got different bone density,
right?
Elasticity 100%. In their body, and he's taken a lot of injuries, man. A lot.
Yeah, and big injuries. It's not like they're just like small, like a strained calf or something. Like This dude went out for a whole season in college. So like, and I just think also too, you got to remember, a lot of sports in general is mental, and I think injuries catch up to you mentally, right? And I don't think Tua,
unless you're Joe Burrow,
well, certain guys. I mean, certain guys can bounce back from any, and not only that, mental, like even just mental game as far as going to a bad team and a team like the Lions or the Browns, they destroy your career kind of. Some quarterbacks can't bounce back from that. Some quarterbacks can. Some quarterbacks can leave a bad situation, go somewhere else, and flourish. Some quarterbacks, they can't bounce back, right? And there's been a handful that came out of college where you're like, oh my God, like this guy could be the real deal. He goes to the Lions, and they don't surround him with any help, and he loses his confidence, and there it goes. He never gets it back. And happens.
I was talking about this the other day. Think about this. You look at Josh Allen now, and you're like, oh, world, great. This guy is going to have – if he went to the Miami Dolphins, what would his career been like? The framework, the setup, the development is critical. There's so many good players that have been left behind that never were able to reach their talent level. You know, maybe a crazy random injury or something. But for the most part, the framework, the setup, the scheme, everything, something along the way just really inhibited them. Josh Allen would not be Josh Allen if he was on the Miami Dolphins the last 4 years.
Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you why, because they're going to have surrounding him. You got to have, and we're going to get to this. This is a great segue, by the way, into this next story, by the way.
I wrote it down.
This is a great segue. Thank you for that, Curtis. So I was watching, listen, I'm not a big national media sports guy. There's a few guys I respect and I watch. Colin Cowherd, I like. You know, some people don't like him. I do. I think some of his stuff is or whatever, but he does make, to me, a lot more sense than a lot of these other guys that are just in it for like clickbait or whatever. I also like Rich Eisen. But anyways, Colin Cowherd came out, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and we was talking about the Deshaun Watson Cleveland Browns mess, which we're going to get to in a second. But he made such a great point, Curtis. He's like, listen, it all starts from the top, which I've always said. But he's like, if you notice, it's about 8 teams in this league that are always drafting in the first 10 picks. Always. The Washingtons, right? The Browns, like they're always drafting. They're always there. They're always in that top 10 spot because they can't ever get it right. And they're always desperate, right? So they're making desperate decisions. And he's like, the Browns made a desperate decision. And which that's what happens when you have bad ownership or bad GM so it's funny looking back on this. So they gave Watson the first ever fully guaranteed contract for a quarterback with 22 allegations, 22 or 23 allegations, like a lot. Said they did their homework, which clearly they didn't. And what's crazy about this contract, Curtis, from what I heard, is they were out of the race to get Watson. They jumped back in the race because of the contract. So the contract basically says, even if more comes out on Watson and they cut him, let's say they're like, no, man, too much is here. They still gotta pay him for 2022 and 2023. Big money, guys. Big money.
And the picks.
And not to mention the picks, right? So they got to pay him 2 years and they lose all their picks. And that's why they came out recently and said, we're just going to let it play out. Because what can they do at this point? They're screwed. So I don't know if you read the article they came out with, the 24th victim or whatever came out. And then they did a article, I forget who, USA Today or New York Times or something. 66 massage therapists in 17 months, Curtis. 66. That's wild.
Oh, repeat that stat again. Repeat that. 66 what?
66 massage therapists in 17 months.
He was shopping.
So
it was a smorgasbord, dude. He was just, going up and down the aisle.
All on Instagram. Some of these people weren't even like in massage therapy for long.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild. You're talking about a quarterback who's like, at the time for the Texans, a big deal. He could have got the best of the best treatment from Houston. They could have got him somewhere this is your body, right? Like, this is what you do for a living. You want the best working on it. You're going to reach out to people on Instagram that probably don't know what they're doing or barely know what they're doing. That's one weird thing, right? And why would you need so many? Then, two, the whole towel, he just wants to bring his own personal towel, which is, they say it's very uncalled for, like they never happens. He met one of them at their house, which is weird. Then his lawyer comes out. Mind you, Curtis, the lawyer initially said nothing happened. It was all.
Did he say happy endings aren't illegal?
Now, yes. Now, right. Now it says happy endings aren't illegal. And he had sex with a few of them, but they came on to him. But it's just like, wow, dude. So, like, it just gets crazier and crazier. And I know, listen, and then you're going to get some people that are going to say, well, he's not arrested. It didn't go to criminal court. But guys, there's people that are guilty of crimes that don't always get arrested or even beat a case. O.J. Simpson, he killed people. Let's be real. But he found not guilty. Does that mean he's not guilty because in the court of law? In the court of law, I guess, but he's not. He's definitely guilty. This is where it's going to get tricky for the Browns. If Deshaun Watson doesn't settle, which he should, I'll be honest with you, Curtis, he should just get it over with, take your punishment, settle, because what's going to happen is when you got to remember, 24 people now. There are 24 cases. Each case he's going to have to go to court for. Each case, because it's a civil case, is a deposition. He's going to have to talk about what happened. There's going to be things coming up in these. It's going to look bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be real bad. If he settles, get it over with. The stories can't get out there. It is what it is. Maybe he plays in a year. I have a feeling the NFL, because of this latest thing that came out, Curtis, I'm going to say they're going to suspend him for the whole season. I think they're going to suspend him for this season, and they're going to see if more comes out. I have a feeling. Because the NFL right now, they're really trying to get to the female audience. They're trying to preach a lot of, assault against women is not accepted. Anything like that is not accepted. If you saw I think it's Trevor Bauer for the baseball, he got suspended 2 years for something similar, and that was only one case. So I think it was Trevor Bauer. I could be wrong, guys, on that name. But there was a baseball player, same thing. Got suspended two seasons by MLB. So it's going to be very interesting what happens in the upcoming weeks, because the NFL, Curtis, they got to step in eventually. You can't keep dragging this on. And I feel like, man, you've been dragging this on since 2021, the whole season. And now you're into a whole new season coming up. You had a whole off season. You had everything. And I just think what's happening is they were about to rule, and this new 24th victim came out. So I think basically it set them back a little bit, but they're going to have to make a decision, man.
Well, it's a big problem because of the money and what they sacrifice. They have like a 2 to 3 year window before big money after 2020 Watson's contract for 2000. I was just reading that statement by Steve. They've got 2 to 3 year window before the loss of the picks, the money. They're going to have to rebuild in a lot of ways. And if they lose a year, this guy is screwed. I mean, this guy won't have played. He won't have played for almost 2.5 years.
And not only that, Baker Mayfield situation.
Oh, I know. They totally alienated him too.
You think he's going to play?
Look, I could see it going 2 ways. I could see them giving him a 4-game suspension, and that's it. Because the NFL.
I don't think so, Curtis. 4 game.
I
would be shocked.
I can see it. I can see 6-game, 4-game suspension.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll tell NFL's in a tough spot. 4 games, no way.
Is being investigated for trying to throw games.
But this is different. This has to do with something that they try to get out of the league when the whole Ray Rice situation came up. Remember, they dropped the ball initially with Ray Rice, right? They suspended him 6 games or 4 games. The video came out, right? Ray Rice has never played a football game since in the NFL. Now, that was one incident, and it was terrible, right? Knocked his girlfriend out in the elevator. But you're talking about 24. If these allegations are true, but listen, Curtis, this isn't 3 women. This isn't 2. This isn't 4 where you can go, well, maybe they're in cahoots. This is 20.
I would expect that the Cleveland Browns went to Roger Goodell and said, hey, look, what's the worst case scenario? And if you add one more in, maybe they'll extend it a little bit more. I just can't admit. I mean, maybe, but then the Browns will have to be the dumbest team in the history of football.
They are the dumbest team. They're up there.
If they actually, to me, I figured they would have gone to Goodell and said, hey, look, what's going to happen? And Goodell would say, oh, well, we got this, because they kind of know what's going on. It will give them 6 games or something. And
but if you're the NFL and you're investigating, I'm just saying you're an investigator, right? Like, let's say you're an investigator. You're investigating it because a lot of cases, like in court, let's just say hypothetical, there's court cases that there's not, the prosecution doesn't really have a lot of physical evidence, but they have a lot of evidence like why this happened, right? Like, I forget the word I'm looking for, but there's not a lot of physical, but there's something else over there. They could tie it all together, right? Like, you were here, your phones were here, whatever. Like, why would you do this? Da, 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 da. The evidence is so stacked where it doesn't make sense. Like I totally agree. Right? So the NFL, there's no way they're going to go, okay. They're sitting and they're sitting all together in a room going, okay. So it just came out, 66 women, and these are a fact, came out 66 women in 17 months. Why is he doing that? Okay. Why is he going on Instagram when he had the best available? Something's not right there. Okay. And now why is 24 people saying almost the same story? All of them, right? They're all similar. It just doesn't add up. So there's I just can't see him going, well, water under the bridge, 4 games. If that happens, Curtis, in my point, I think the NFL could lose millions of dollars by losing female fans that will protest, that will be very angry. Because if you spend them a year, who are they going to lose? Cleveland Brown fans that are mad? Who are they really going to lose? They're going to make the Browns owner mad?
But
shouldn't have done it. Should have done your homework.
If you go that line, though, if this guy clearly was going after women for sex, I mean, it's clear. You know what I'm saying? We understand it. But if they suspend him for a year, if this is all true, it's still not long enough. Because you're talking about him.
No, it's not. It's 100%
possibly 10, 12, 15 women. So the reality is, if we're talking about justice, his career should be over and he should go to jail. But if he's not getting arrested, then I find it hard for the NFL to because then they're going to be subject to litigation. And I don't think they really care. I don't think they care. I don't think the NFL gives a whit what he did because there's so much stuff goes on in the background that they cover up with all these players, dead bodies and whatever else. You know what I'm saying? My girl, she did too much cocaine. She's dead. They got the people come here and she disappears. I know that stuff happens. You know what I mean? It's clear they've been covering stuff up for years. They cover up the concussion issue. They covered up. I mean, Ray Lewis, who I love, he's dead. People died and all of a sudden, he's super MVP.
Yeah, but there was evidence. I mean, that's a different, self-defense. I mean, this is a, but you got to remember, we're in a different age now, right? Like this is the new NFL, right? Where
maybe
right? Like I'm just saying, we're in a different time now, and I think, like I said earlier, if this was 2 or 3 allegations, I would say, yeah, you got to show me a little bit more evidence, or you got to, let's wait till this takes to court.
But the Browns literally gave the guy what, $200 million?
Yeah, but but I don't think but
picks. So they don't care. They could care less.
Well,
and Goodell works for them. They don't work for Goodell. Goodell works for them. He burned the tapes of the Patriots cheating. Covers stuff up constantly.
He did. That I agree with. He did. I did, but I still think this is a very touchy subject.
Listen, I would say the guy should never play again. He shouldn't. But I mean, okay, let's look at it this way. If he does not get convicted in the court, the NFL is going to have a hard time suspending him for a certain period of time, because then the lawyers of Watson and the Browns will say there was no litigation. This, you know what I'm saying? There's no.
Yeah, but it's not up to them. It's not up. Yeah, but it's not up to the Browns. So NFL has their own committee they can suspend a player without anything to do with law related. So a player could get a DUI and get off on a technicality, like let's say they killed somebody.
Oh yeah.
But because it's a technicality, they got off free. It doesn't mean the NFL's gonna be like, well, you know what, you got off on the illegal, so you're cool to come back. Like, I don't know if it's gonna work like that. And from what I heard as well is they could suspend him. They could put him on the exempt list, suspend him for a year, keep it open, because I have a feeling, Curtis, this is just the beginning. And I don't think the NFL wants to suspend him 4 games. And let's say he's playing 3 more games and something big drops again, because they didn't expect this story to get out with the 65 women in 17 months. And they didn't expect the 24th victim to come forward. Also, there's women that have accused him that's not suing him. So they're not even, they're not even trying to get like money. They're just, they don't want, they're embarrassed. So I just don't see listen, I think the NFL would catch a lot of heat if they don't.
If it gets to a certain point, the Browns will tell Watson, his lawyers will tell Watson, paid him off. And then the women would have and then they'll say, whatever, 6 games, 12 games. I just can't.
By the way, and you made a good point about Goodell working for the team. So that contract pissed off a lot of owners around the NFL. A shitload, right? I think Goodell heard it from a lot of these owners that they didn't like that was crazy. Like the Browns giving him a fully guaranteed contract puts other teams in bad situations when it comes to contract negotiations. And not only did you give it a fully guaranteed contract, you gave it to a person with, like I said, 23 allegations of sexual misconduct. It wasn't like he was like the face of the NFL, right? Where you could be like, okay, I get it, right? Nice guy, Russell Wilson, whatever. Like, guy's done nothing wrong.
The Browns, Hugh Jackson came out and said, I was paid to lose games to get the number 1 overall pick. And there's no investigation. There's no outcry.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not talking about like justice or legality or what I want. I just think the NFL doesn't give a damn. And there's so much money involved that I can't see them doing the right thing, because owners accused of cheating, breaking the system, even Stephen Ross. And there's plenty of evidence there,
well,
and
I'll tell you what.
No.
We are going to find out sooner than later. I have a feeling that they're going to have to. Listen, they're going to have to make a decision sooner than later. You can't have this guy go to camp, especially for the Browns. If they got to do something for the Browns as well, because if they're going to suspend him, the Browns need to make a decision, because they got to get Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield may not even want to play for them. He may go, hey, you guys will also.
He was told not to come to the OTAs.
Right. So does he even want to play for him at this point? So like, you got to give the Browns a heads up. You got to make a decision. And I have a feeling that decision is going to be made within a week or two.
I hope you're right.
I have a feeling, and I think it's going to be 1 season. I just do. I just think I haven't heard one person, at least national media wise, who said that, let justice, let's see what happens, let it play out in the courts. Everybody is all on the same page where it doesn't make sense. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's, it's just something's not right. Right. So we'll see. Well, we will see. But hey, he ain't my quarterback. And, that's just wild, man. And sometimes, bro, you never know. Everybody has their little demons in their closet, man. And clearly,
clearly, we all know this guy was hunting for women. Some of them were willing to do what he wanted. Some of them he was trying to talk him into it. It didn't go the way he planned. But I just don't know if the NFL will do the right thing because they don't really ever do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? If they ever do sort of the right thing, it's usually because they're forced to do the right thing. So yeah. I'm jaded.
I agree. I mean, I can see where you're coming from because I don't know. Did you watch the dark side of the NFL with the whole Patriots scandal?
No.
Okay. If you haven't watched it, guys, go watch it. It's on Vice. If you could somehow pull it up or find it, they did one on the Patriots. So, they have an episode. It's an hour episode. They do one on they did one on somebody else. But anyways, they had one episode they did on the Patriots, the whole scandal, the filming, the video recording and of the NFL having all this evidence and burning it, just throwing it away. And then they suspended Brady for the football incident longer than they did on the. So it's like Brady was kind of the scapegoat, kind of like it was just so weird. That whole thing was such a cover up. If you ever want to see a cover up, that was it. They were clearly videotaping teams for a long time. This was going on for longer than what you guys know, which is unbelievable that they would record people's practices prior to playing them. And they would just threw it under the rug like it was no big deal. Like it's just that's
even crazy. Look at a Kraft, whatever. He went to the massage parlor, and that was like prostitution. And what he just couldn't go to his game for a year or something.
Yeah. It was not only was a prostitution, it was like a sex ring.
Yeah, and what happened? Nothing. He couldn't go to sit and watch his games.
Right. Well, he's an owner, though. Now they may have swept that under the rug too, but something with the Patriots in the NFL, though. I don't know if the Browns have that pool. We'll find out, guys. We will find out. But we were talking about go ahead.
That whole contract was guaranteed, right? Of Watson.
Yeah, $265, I think.
See, to me though, if he's suspended a year, then he should be suspended forever. Because if he did all that they're saying to suspend him for a year, then he should never play football again.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like either forever or he's back for a short period of time.
Yeah, but there's players that have been suspended a year. Look at
yeah, but not for having 24 women say that you were sexually assaulted.
No, that's true. But but there's been players suspended. Look at Antonio Brown. Wasn't he suspended for a decent amount of time?
But what did he
do? He did something. It was his ex-wife or something. He was on camera throwing things at her or something. He did a lot of things. Remember, he did a whole bunch, right? I don't know. Antonio Brown, the list is pretty long. But I don't know if it was this bad. Now, I will tell you this.
If it's criminal enough to be out for a year, then you're saying this guy abused women. And no man should ever abuse a woman. And if you've abused like 2 dozen possibly, then how are you ever playing again? It doesn't make any sense. So he's out for a year because he did all this, but then in a year, we're going to let him come back because why? Why would you even let him back then? If he's out for a year, then you're saying he did it. And if he did it, he's a criminal to multiple women. How can you ever put him back on a team again? Well, he stayed out of football for a year. He abused 24 women.
Yeah, but
it is time.
There are certain players that are they do get blacklisted. And like I said, if you suspend him for a year, because this ain't going away. Like these cases are not, and this could drag on because there's 24, Curtis. There could be 25 soon. There could be 26.
Well, you've got a good point about the advertising.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm saying, just like you said, it's a money thing. And I told you, they're going to lose money with females, right? They're going to be protesting. They're not going to be buying their jerseys. You got exactly what he said, advertising that advertise to women, right? I'm telling you, man, like there's going to be a big amount of heat.
Again, he should never play NFL football.
And that's a great point. Will he? Because if he's suspended a year and more comes out and his depositions come out where he looks and he is, and I already say I think he's guilty, but more comes out to the platform where, oh my God, like more evidence. The NFL eventually will either have to just get rid of him, or I think the Browns will cut him, take their losses, and I think I think he'll turn into a Ray Rice situation where he won't be suspended, but he'll be blacklisted, meaning he'll never play again. That happened to Ray Rice. Ray Rice was only one season. Ray Rice wasn't a bad football player when he got suspended. He could have came and played football, but no team wanted any part of Ray Rice. Baltimore cut their ways with him. And I think Antonio Brown, by the way, because of what he did with the Brady situation, walking up to, I think he's blacklisted. I don't know if any,
never come back.
I don't think any team will ever touch him because of that. So there is players that get blacklisted that aren't necessarily suspended. So I think it's just going to boil down to the Browns ultimately. If the NFL suspends for a year, do the Browns just say, you know what, we're going to welcome him back next season? Or do the Browns go, you know what, yeah, we're going to take our loss. This is not looking good. That's where it's going to come down to. And the Browns.
That's a good point. I like that point.
You know,
that's a way for the NFL to get out of it.
Yeah.
Say you sign this guy, you screwed up, you take the loss, we'll hook you up with a Super Bowl or something, and then just let him walk, and then teams back off. I like that point. I think I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with that point. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean that's how I can see it playing out, but we'll see. We'll see. But me and Curtis got to talking about the AFC, since this is an AFC show, about AFC. Yeah, 1984, the best quarterback draft ever, in my opinion. Of course, Jim Kelly did not want to play for the Buffalo Bills at the time, but he came back in 87. Woo! That was a hell of a draft, by the way. That was a crazy draft. What that was
That was the 83 draft. This is the 84.
I'm sorry. I know 83, 84, but 83 Elway didn't want to go to. Elway didn't want to play for
Colts.
The Colts, right? He was on a said he was going to play baseball, and like Marino he wanted to play for somewhere else, right? Pittsburgh, I think it was. He wanted to play for the Steelers, or
he wanted to play for Pittsburgh, but rumors about cocaine and drugs had him falling.
Marino living his life, baby. You know what's funny speaking about
cocaine?
And he has doesn't he have a secret child, right? Or something, like he had like a secret child.
I'm sure, right? Man. Yeah, he does. He does.
It was like his maid.
When he was doing like after football or something like that.
Oh my God! Hey man, those are.
Let's not talk about that. Dan Marino's a saint. He's an angel. None of that happened. It's all rumor. It's hearsay.
I think you should put your isotoner gloves on right now, Curtis.
Oh, dude. I used to wait for commercials just to watch Dana on the commercials, man. That was like big moments for me, man.
Oh, my God.
You remember back then, I was in New York, so I couldn't get all their games. So for me to get Dan Marino on a commercial, dude, it was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. I remember going to the games as a kid and watching him. I hated him because he was so good, man. Like he was really good. Slow as molasses, but
not early on. Not for the first couple of years. The first couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, well, when I was watching him in the 90s.
Yeah, he was in the 90s. He was done.
Yeah, so early 90s, because I started watching football in like 88, 89 around there. But I really got into it in like the early 90s, like 90, 91, where I was really like focused in on who we're playing against and all that. And at that time, Marino was slowing down a bit, but he had great pocket presence. So like, just like kind of like Brady, like he knew when to step up or to the side, and he had the arm to like laser it down the field, man. And he didn't have the greatest weapons. I remember Mark Clayton, Mark Duper. They were good. I don't know if they were great, but they were
really
good
early on, but they were done by 90.
Yeah, no running backs. Never had a running back. But yeah,
not really
it was.
You know what the biggest problem was? That evil piece of garbage, Marty Lyons, took out Dwight Stevenson, the center, Hall of Fame center, clipped him and ended his career. And that really, Dwight Stevenson and Marino were just such a good pairing. And when he lost Dwight Stevenson, you could see his stats drop. He wasn't the same quarterback after that. Even when Webb and Richmond oh man, I'm losing my mind. Holy cow. Webb and the left guard. Holy cow, I'm losing my mind. I'm getting old timers. Anyway, Dwight Stephen was just so awesome. He could pass block, he could run block, and once he got injured, you see Marino went down. He was at this level, and then he went down to this level. It was a shame.
Yep. So I wanted to get into the AFC quarterbacks in general, just kind of like rank them by division. Just kind of, and really why I want to do this.
You're enjoying this.
I am enjoying this. This is great,
Rub
especially when it comes, guys. Especially when it goes to the AFC East. This is my bread and butter, baby. So let's begin there. The AFC East. Let's go ahead and grade these quarterbacks. And
I gotta go. All right, I'm signing off. It's been good talking to you guys. Best of luck. 2 is number 1. I'm out.
So let's start with the East, and we'll start with the Jets. Let's start with the Jets first. So go ahead, Curtis. Break down the quarterback for the Jets, the rookie from last season. How do you feel like he played his rookie season? I know he had a lot of bumps on the road his rookie season, but it was a bad football team. How do you feel he did? What is your expectations for year 2? And do you think that the draft helped them maybe get past the Patriots, or are they still a last place team with the quarterback that's in place?
I mean, anything's possible because I really like their offensive line. I think they got good running backs. They've got some good tools now in the receiving group. And I think Zach Wilson's got talent. I don't know I haven't really studied his pre-snap and post-snap reads and his processing speed. Watched a couple games, obviously. And, he shows talent. He's very mobile, big arm, makes boneheaded plays, which is expected for a rookie.
That happens.
I can't really grade the kid until this season. They say he's playing okay in camp. I mean, who knows? Kid's got talent, but, can he get discipline?
So as of right now, you got him as the 4th last in the division.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now here's where it gets dicey. So Mac Jones.
You got to do this to me. You got to do this to me.
Mac Jones. Now I'm going to put a split here because I have a feeling, Curtis, that you're going to see Teddy Bridgewater by game 4-5 for Tua. I have a feeling. So I'm going to put a split here. I'm going to say Mac Jones, Tua / Bridgewater. Who do you got there, like a next quarterback coming up on that list?
Well, it's really difficult. I want to say, if you look at the frameworks, Mac Jones had a perfect framework. Tua had the worst framework possible. But if you go on production alone, you have to say Mac Jones is number 2 and 2 is number 3. I think from a tool standpoint, Tua doesn't have the processing speed or pre-snap, post-snap abilities of Mac Jones, but his ability to climb the pocket vertically and his release and his ability to navigate the RPO is an option. I don't know if they had the tools to accentuate that. And I think he's better than Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater, if he hadn't blown out his knees, might be better. He might have, but at this stage, he's kind of like average,
right. And he's a hometown kid, right? Though from Miami.
Yeah. I think Tua is number 3 at this stage. I could easily see him being number 2, but the framework. Mac Jones, to me, it's offensive line. Mac Jones has got a great offensive line. They're going to run the football and not make him do everything. But when you look at Mac Jones, and I was going over, because you told me to cover the quarterbacks. So I was covering all the quarterbacks in the NFL. And then
you see, Curtis gets a little tired. He forgot. He thought this was the NFL overtime show. That's all right.
5 hours doing this, and he goes, you know what? Oh no, it's AFC. I'm like, oh man,
it is the AFC overtime.
Well, I got a lot of information I studied. But, when you go across the board, you look at Mac Jones, he had very low yak. He had pretty solid intended air yards, so he was pushing the football. He had a solid on. Everything was pretty solid. But if you look at his over completion percentage, it was 8th best in the NFL. And so I believe that any quarterback can have success. Ultimately, some are capped by their limited abilities. But to me, a tall, prototypical size quarterback with great processing speed, but an average to above average arm can be highly successful. I think this kid can be highly successful. I'm not saying he's going to be Josh Allen. In the same token, same thing with Tua. If Tua could get play action, get a run game, get an offensive line, you'd see him be successful. If they swap teams, Tua would be the guy. They're like, oh, he's all right. He could do okay. And then Mac, they'd be saying, this guy sucks. He needs to go. The frameworks were totally set up differently. So to me, these two guys will be fighting for second and third, and it depends on how the teams play out. To me, Belichick, he knows how to do it, especially cheating, and he's going to set up a much better platform. McDaniel has potential. Dolphins have potential, but then there's things that are curious and a little concerning. So, second and third to me is interchangeable. Maybe it's going to be Mac. Maybe it's going to be Tua. Tua could get knocked out and his injuries could come crap. But from a talent standpoint, I think they're both, it's whatever framework they have is going to determine who they are. Unlike this guy up in Buffalo, who I happen to like, and I hope he retires sometime before the season.
Not happening.
Unfortunately, he's not going to.
So me,
Matt, take it over from here, talk and smile.
I know. So, Josh Allen's my hero. best ever. He's my man crush now. Listen, I told you how I feel about Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson, I don't know. I always say that it's a 3-year rule for a coach, for a player. You got to give them 3 years, right? If they're new, right? Unless they're just Nathan Peterman, awful, right? Then you know who you got. I was not impressed what I saw of Zach Wilson his rookie season. I get he's on a bad team. I understand that because, listen, I went through that. Josh Allen 2018, if you look at his stats, if you didn't watch Josh Allen play and you only went by stats, you would be like, oh, my God, this guy's pretty bad, right? Wow. But if you watch Josh Allen play, you saw glimpses of, wait a minute, wow, he made that throw, or wow, he did that's a athletic play. I didn't see that with Zach Wilson, and I didn't see that with Tua either his rookie season. And that's why I was like, I don't know, because I always want to see a glimpse. Even if you're on a bad team, because most top quarterbacks, right, are going to be out of the draft are going on a bad team. So they're going to have a rough year or two. It's just the way it is. A team has to build around you. It takes time. I get that. But if you're not showing something, some kind of this is why we drafted this kid, you see it, that play right there, that's why we got this kid. And I didn't see that from Zach Wilson last year. I didn't see it from Tua his rookie year. And that's why I'm if I'm a Dolphin fan, I'm not super excited for the future of Tua. Because I think he's okay. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I don't know if I don't know about his ceiling. I don't know how high it is. I think it's okay. I think he's going to be another maybe Tannehill. And I didn't bet. I think Tannehill actually was okay for the Dolphins. I just think he wasn't going to be that franchise guy. And I don't think he's going to be the franchise guy for Tennessee either. But that's where I lie with them. And Miami fans, and maybe even just in football in general. If you got a backup come there and your quarterback's playing bad and the backup is a hometown guy or a guy that was good in the past at one point, fans are brutal. Fans will boo.
Especially Dolphins fans.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Listen, that happened in Cleveland right away when Tyrod Taylor was there, right? They all wanted Baker right away. Tyrod gets hurt, Baker's starter, it's done for Tyrod. And I just think with Teddy Bridgewater going there, even though Teddy Bridgewater had his battle with injuries, he's bounced around, he's still, when he was a starter, which people remember, he was pretty good, right? He wasn't great, but the moment, he was above average, but I could also see it going where, let's say Tua doesn't start off so hot or he gets hurt, Bridgewater comes in and leads them on a fourth quarter drive. Then you got a whole mess again, right? Dolphin fans, the media. That's just the way it is. It's the way it works. The NFL. It's the way it goes. So, and I just feel like Tua's, that whole mess in Miami with Tua and now bringing in a decent quarterback, a backup. He's a decent backup quarterback. It's going to cause a little controversy when Tua maybe doesn't play a best game or gets hurt and Bridgewater comes in and I'll tell you why, because I remember when your quarterback last year, Jacoby Brissett, came in and had an okay game. I remember Dolphin fans going, Jacoby Brissett should play the rest of the year. Now, I'm not saying all, but I heard it. Yeah. I even remember Josh Allen in 2019 when Barkley came. I heard some fans saying Barkley, and I said, are you crazy? Like, stop with this talk. But it happens. So I can see it happening. So
but I think there's realities that either if you're not a football fan and you're not a fan of the Miami Dolphins and you're not really being diligent in understanding the situation, it's very easy to perceive and I'm not saying he's ever going to be elite. To me, his out of 10, I see him as at a cap of 8. And I mean, a real long shot of being 9 out of 10, like a real long shot. But for me, 7 or 8 seems like a fair like range for him. If you look at the Dolphins' offensive line, it was historically bad. Like when I mean, and I'm not talking about a bad I mean like historically bad. I could literally sit down and talk for 15 minutes and put stats out to you and show you that this offensive line was the worst offensive line in Miami that has been there in 42 years. And not even like just slightly, I mean literally by a long shot. And that the offensive line determines everything unless you happen to be, Josh Allen, Dan Marino, whoever. Look at Mahomes. He wins a Super Bowl. Next season, he goes to the Super Bowl. 2 of his top linemen go down. He gets beaten to trash, and he looks like a child. And so the offensive line determines everything. Unless, again, you're this superstar who can kind of make it work. You know what I'm saying? Tua is not a superstar. He's a system quarterback that's dependent on an offensive line and a run game. And his talents are accentuated through that. And if you don't have it, he looks terrible. But even still, he was the number 1 tight window thrower in the NFL last year. And he was about 11th in over completion percentage. And even when you look at his deep passes, he was even successful percentage-wise of completions. He did better than Brady last year as far as 30-yard better completions. So, if you have an offensive line and they've got to run 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 61% of the time, which is sometimes 3 times more than the rest of the league, and they still can't pass block and still can't run, you are doomed. I mean, I can't explain to you how bad this offense. I have video of Austin Jackson just falling down, like getting blown up and flying back, 325-pound guy. And it was not just him. It was the guy next to him, Eichenberg. Sometimes you had Eichenberg, who was a second and third round pick, and Jackson, who was the 18th overall pick, blocking the same guy, and that one guy was beating both of them. So there's no way to take a pretty good quarterback, a system quarterback who's pretty good, who has a particular set of skills that can't use those particular set of skills, and to say he's whatever. Until you have a real framework for that type of quarterback, and the same thing with Zach Wilson. He's not special. Mac Jones, he might be special cerebrally. We'll see. But there's difference between elite, all-time great, and special and pretty good quarterbacks. And the majority is just pretty good quarterbacks, and they'll be made and broken otherwise by their framework. And the offensive line of the Miami Dolphins last year was all-time historically bad. Now, to toot my own horn, I was saying that from preseason. And in PFF, when they had that win streak, was saying they're the number 3 best offensive line in the league. And I'm like, dude, these people are high on crack. And then at the end of the year, they put out an article saying this was an historically bad offensive line because they weren't taking into account the schemes. They weren't taking into account. They're running 12 personnel 61% of the time. And they're running the football against weak teams. You know what I'm saying? It's like very easy to create what you want. The line was so bad and Tua had no chance. It doesn't mean if he gets the line, he's going to be good, but it's impossible to evaluate somebody under those conditions. Look at Dan Marino. Everybody says Dan Marino is a great quarterback, but he didn't have a running game and his defense sucked. So we say that's context to why he couldn't win. So if you're one of the greatest quarterbacks and you can't win at all because of this, just imagine if you're a pretty good quarterback and you've got the all-time worst offensive line that can't block or run, and you have no run game. And you call in plays where 2 receivers are going out, or you call 3 wide and you got Mike Gesicki, who's a tight end, as your third receiver. These teams were playing nickel all day or playing over going, okay, and that's why he's throwing short all day. I'm not saying if he gets it all together, he's going to be Josh Allen. I'm not saying that. But the kid's good enough to win. I don't know if to win it all, but it's incompetence. It's Dolphin, Miami incompetence, screwing everything up. Everyone knew that Tannehill was who he was with the Titans, and then Miami should have built that kind of team. But they wanted to turn him into Dan Marino and have him throw 50 times a game and make all the calls. It was moronic, but that's what Miami does. They're morons.
You definitely got to build. See, that's just like we talked about earlier with when I was telling you about the bad teams draft first, right? There's a handful of them, right? About 8 or 10 teams. Listen, it all starts from the top, right? You gotta build around your team. You gotta build the right culture. You gotta draft the right guys. You gotta sign the right guys. Your ownership, to your GM, to your coach, you gotta all be on the same page, right? Yep. Once you're not, then you're gonna get the results that are happening in Cleveland and Miami, with the Jets forever, right? With the Texans, all these teams that are the Lions that just cannot find their way is because they just don't have good leadership. I mean, that's just the truth. Or they got good leadership, but maybe they're not connecting well, and they're in this like battle with each other, and it's I'll tell you what.
It starts with the owner.
Yeah, it starts from the top, right? So it's the owner, the GM.
The Bills, you look at Bean. I watch videos on him now because I really enjoy his processing, his thought processing, and how he builds his team. He's a football guy. He's got a strong sense of character, and he's being left on his own to run the show. The owner's not getting involved. But I have Dolphin fans that Stephen Ross has been getting in the way, causing chaos since he came in. And we got McDaniel and it's all good. It was not Ross, it was all Flores. But then before that was Gase. And then it was Philbin. And then it's always somebody else. Ross wants to be in control and put his 2 cents in. And he has no football sense. He screws everything up. Maybe he finally learned and he's backing off. That's why I like the Bills.
Jose wants to know real quick. He's going to ask you. It says, what has the Dolphins done to stop the Bills' offense, and how do they improve on defense?
Well, if you go back and you look at the first half of last year's game, you got a quick run, big run, put points on. Then you knock Tua out. You got the ball back short. You put on another 14 points on. But the Dolphins defense held you into like midway through the third quarter. Then they got gassed and fell apart. You look at the second game up in Buffalo, and it kind of kept it close until Tua and the offense totally screwed up on the goal line and gassed the defense, and then they fell apart. Dolphins defense is credible. They're able to limit things. Howard's always dangerous. They're able to stop the run. They're able to limit Allen, but the offense cannot handle your defense. And so that's really the main problem. It's not the defense of the Dolphins. It's that they get gassed. You can't win when you're putting 13 and 14 points on a game against the Bills team. Allen's going to break out. The defense on the Dolphins, they're smallish and scheme-oriented. They're going to get tired. And you gas us every single – and last year at least, you just gassed us. It came out. It was a quick run, knocked the quarterback out because all these are idiots. And then we played tight, but then we just fell apart. Brissett threw that crazy, retarded interception. But the defense has played solid. They're a quality defense. And I think they can kind of – I'm a little worried this year. That's why I keep harping on the run game. The Bills were Saffold and Quisenberry, and I really like Singletary. Did a video on him.
I tried telling you, Curtis, about my man Motor.
No, I always liked him. I think that what I think you're going to get is Saffold working with Moss, and you're going to see Moss's production rise. You're going to keep Singletary the same amount of carries, 140, 150 carries on a season. But Moss brings that hammer. Possibly. But
let's just say this is probably the Buffalo Bills' best offensive line in about 3 or 4 seasons, right? I mean, coming from a Bills fan, I should know. I would say since 2017 when we had Richie Incognito. That was like the last year we had Richie. That was a very good line. Matter of fact, that team that made us to the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor, that was a running team. That was a Shady McCoy. By the way, we had Aaron Cromer at the time as well on that team. So that was a really good offensive line that was mean, nasty, blocked well. It was more of a running based offense. And I see that going that way this year. And if Motor flourishes, right, which I believe he will, because Motor did well on a bad offensive line. I thought wasn't great, but I thought it was pretty good. And he did very good at the end of the season last year. His stats went way up when the offensive line started playing better, when Ryan Bates went in. Now we're talking about Saffold. We're talking a second year with Spencer Brown. We're talking a healthy Deion Dawkins. We're talking Mitch Morse, who's one of the better pin and pull centers in the league. We're talking Ryan Bates potentially at right guard, which he played very well last season.
I think Quisenberry's
he could either one I'm good with. So my point is, I see Singletary doing good, and the one thing about our coach is he will not take the ball away from a guy, a running back who's playing well. He'll always stay with the guy with the hot hand. So if Singletary is flourishing with this offensive line, you're going to see a good year, especially on a contract year. You got to remember, Motor's on a contract year. Players love playing their best ball on the contract year. I think Singletary will get a decent amount of carries, probably the most he's had. And he's lining up for a contract. And I think he's going to have over 1,000 yards, in my opinion. He came close to it twice. He had 850.
870 this year.
Yeah, 870. Exactly. So he had 1,000 all-purpose yards last year. I know that for a fact. So why not? Why wouldn't he have 1,000 rushing yards on a way better offensive line? Now,
okay, here's my take. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this. I'm not a Bills fan, but I like to think about it. It's not that he's going to get more carries. He's going to be more efficient. I think he's going to end up with about 5.1 yards a carry. But this is why I like Moss. If you look at the Bills, their perimeter threats at every level. You can play action and get roll out. You always have to check your perimeters because Allen can get to the edges. He can pass to the edges. You got Knox, a small guy who can get to the edges. Now, from a defensive standpoint, you're always guarding for that. And you're going to leave the center a little open because you can trap and slow down the big play. But now, if you get more, like if you look at Singletary, he's a hard fighter. He's a good break tackle kind of guy. But he's a B gap to C gap runner. Moss, because of his size, he's an A gap inside runner, and he will wear a team down.
Yeah, I can see
when
that.
You run him early, you are forcing the defense to slowly constrict, which will open up the perimeters and force you to bring that safety up in the box. It will also wear down the linebackers and the safeties. And over the course of a game, in that second half, that's where you'll get Singletary. I didn't know his nickname was Motor. Motor is going to start to break them. And for me, Moss is the hammer that then Singletary is going to capitalize on. Because at 220 pounds, this guy hits you and he hurts you. And he's going to get his carries because you got to figure Josh Allen had 144 carries, I think it was. I wouldn't want this guy to have more than 60 carries for because you guys are postseason. It's all about winning postseason.
Yep,
you got to keep Allen fresh. You can't let him take any extra hits. So, the idea is to get this guy maybe 2 or 3 runs a game at most, and you really want some games where he doesn't run at all. And so you got to pick up like anywhere between 60 and 80 carries. And Singletary, he's the only guy who can do it all. I don't think Cook can do it all. I watch him run. He's
not now. He has
to develop. Duke is really good. Duke kind of plays like a Moss role, but smaller. Mm-hmm. Duke is really good at being physical, but when he gets to the line of scrimmage, he gets nervous. And if he has to read too early, he screws it up. But with Saffold and Dawkins, and on the other side, Quisenberry and Brown, he's going to get over that line of scrimmage. He's going to get the gap where he can come in and be physical and hammer away. And so he's like Moss B, Moss A and Moss B. And so you're going to want to hammer these guys all season long and use Singletary to get him to where he wants to be and then have him be your guy in the postseason.
But they're not going to see that then. But they're not going to have 4 backs. You got to remember. So right now, as it's funny,
I think they will. I bet you they carry 4.
I don't think so. So I don't. There's a lot of talent, and normally they keep a lot more edge on game day. Now they may keep 4, but that doesn't mean they'll dress 4. Right?
No, I don't think they'll dress 4.
Right.
They'll
so
keep 4.
Moss last season missed a ton of healthy scratches, right? Because the thing is with Moss, what I don't like about Moss is his vision is terrible. Like, at least from what I see, he bounces in the back of his offensive line constantly.
He's like Duke.
Yeah. So his average, I think his career is 2.6. I mean, like, he has to get better in vision. It doesn't matter how big he is. If he doesn't have good vision, you're going to run in the back of your line, right? So he has to improve that. So I have a feeling it's going to come down to Duke Johnson and Zach Moss for that 3rd running back spot because they're not obviously getting rid of Cook. Cook is going to be more of a passing down back. I think he's going to be more like used in like situational passing, screen passes. He's not going to get as many carries as Buffalo Bills fans think. But I do. Yeah, he has to get bigger. He has to get bigger below. I think his leg. He has to get more weight on him and a little bit thicker. Yeah, he has to gain a little bit weight, get a little bit thicker below as far as like legs go. He has kind of thin, skinny legs to be an every down back. He has very limited amount of carries in college, so that's a good and a bad thing. So I think this season you'll see James Cook on the field, but I don't think it's going to be like he's not going to have a lot of carries. I think it's going to be more of just
doesn't he punt return?
No, I think they brung in Tavon Austin, and I think Tavon Austin might, that's what they brung him in for. But yeah, guys, but we'll see. But we're still talking about quarterback.
This is my bet.
Yeah,
they'll have Moss, Cook, and Singletary game day, and they'll keep Duke Johnson on the reserve.
Yes. Yeah, practice squad or something. Yeah, I mean,
squad, but they won't dress him.
Yeah, you got to also remember we got a fullback in Gilliam. You got to remember you got Taiwan Jones, which is another running back, but he's a special team player. So there is other running backs in the room that's going to make the squad, but their roles are different. Taiwan Jones, I think, has like 20 carries.
Let's say Moss goes down. Who fills in for Moss?
It's going to have to be Duke Johnson. So you're going to have to.
That's why you're going to have to keep 4. And
yeah, you can keep 4, but not on a 53. I think Duke will go to the practice squad.
He won't make it. He'll have to get picked up by another team.
You think so? Maybe. I'll tell you what I could see too. And Brandon Bean is very good at this. He normally doesn't cut players. He trades them. When like a player that's going to be cut, he tries to get something for him. He's slick with that. He did it with AJ McCarron. He did it with.
I don't think you get Jack for Duke. I don't think you're gonna get Jack.
Yeah, you never know. I didn't. We traded.
He struggled finding the job last year, and
we traded an offensive lineman to the Patriots for like a 5th round pick that I don't even think it's in the league anymore. Like, trust me, there's guys. Teams do they get desperate now. Mind you, we traded one of the best guards in the league right now to the Browns for nothing. So,
you imagine if you had that, dude? That's crazy.
Oh my God. All right, so moving on because we are running a little behind. Let's get to the AFC North.
Big mouth.
That's all right. Let's get to the AFC North. So we got Cincinnati, the Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore. So Cleveland's a tricky one here, right? We kind of know in Pittsburgh too, maybe, right? So Pittsburgh and Cleveland are the tricky ones, kind of, right? Cleveland especially. So, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't even know if Baker Mayfield's going to be the quarterback if Watson don't play. So what do you got in this list right now? Because this is the weirdest division because you also got Pittsburgh, who drafted their hometown kid, but then they got Mitchie Trubisky, who is trying to prove something, and they signed him to a decent contract. So what do you feel that goes in that list there? Because it's tough for me not to say Cleveland right now has the worst quarterback situation because you don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't really. Who knows with Cleveland? I mean,
it's so tough.
You'd have to put him as the worst, but you don't know if Watson's coming. If Watson's coming,
I don't know.
If Watson comes in, I have him as 3rd because I just don't see him coming in and having a full season and getting full practice, and he's coming off being rusty. It's not a talent issue. The guy's got all the talent. He should be the 2nd best. I don't think he's better than Burrow. But, so, you put him as 4th. Pittsburgh, Trubisky, Steelers know how to do everything right. They know how to do it right. They're not going to bring in the rookie, whatever his name. I can't remember his name. He's going to sit back, and he's going to earn his spot. Trubisky's going to carry him unless he gets injured. And they're going to handle it right. They're going to run the football. That offensive line's going to be good. Flores is over there. He's going to get that defense humming. They're going to do some really intricate stuff, especially with those linebackers. They're going to really come in and play well. Lamar, I really like the kid, but he's been beat to heck. They've done a lot for that team. It's going to be a tough team. But I just feel like they're using that kid. They're not really training him to get better. They're just like, all right, just run the kid and get all games and wins and stuff. Because you go look at his metrics and he hasn't really gotten better. And the kid's got so much heart, and he's trying to get his 2nd contract. And I don't think they're going to give it to him. I think they're just going to run him into the ground. I think this kid's going to get hurt again. And he's too small to be run like that. And then Burrow, to me, I know we were having arguments before, but to me, last year, Burrow was the best quarterback in the AFC. We'll have that. We can have that debate. I loved Allen. He was my number 2. But when you really dig into what Burrow did, this guy's special, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. His processing speed, his pre-snap, post-snap, his poise, his accuracy, coming off a blown-out knee like that, and still, again, having a garbage line. I mean,
No.
It's he's so special. And as you said, since he bad franchises, they're not taking care of this kid. It's almost it pissed me off almost more than what they did to Allen last year. Because to me, like I said, I don't like the Bills, but I like Allen. I mean, I really like the kid as a person. And as a person who loves the art of football, Allen's so special. And to see what they were doing to this kid, it's like riding a Porsche into a crash up derbies. It's ridiculous. And this is again why I think that they got to protect these kids. And they did a lot over in Cincinnati for the offensive line. I think they're going to. So that's my take.
All right. I mean, fair enough. I had to get a beer because you said he's better than Allen, so I had to.
I didn't say he was better than Allen. I said he had a better season.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think that's a great debate. I do. I mean, I could see arguments from Burrow fans as well, but I just see quarterback play as a whole, like what you did to get your team to that level, like to get your team to play. Like, did Allen have his whole offense on his back almost, or did Burrow have his whole offense on his back? And I kind of felt like Allen, since he's arrived in Buffalo, now mind you, got help from Stephon Diggs and obviously like McKenzie and
Davis.
Gabe Davis, and he got help in Cole Beasley. That's what I was trying to say. Cole Beasley, John Brown at the time. But it always, at the end of the day, Allen has always held the load for this team. He's always carried that. He's always the guy that when you need the touchdown, it's Allen, right? Like it's always been that way. The playoff game versus the Chiefs. Yes, Gabe Davis was phenomenal, but if you watch the game, there was even the playoff run that Allen had. I don't know if there's ever been a better like 2-game playoff run by any quarterback who did everything right. Like he just was that guy, and he's been that guy since he came to Buffalo, right? From his rookie season, had the worst offensive line, nothing, no help, no receivers, guys that aren't even in the league anymore. And then 2019, you see the growth, and he's still running for his life, and Dable's not helping by just making him this.
Oh, I got a handkerchief over here because it's getting so emotional.
yeah. So I mean, I
can hear the violin.
Yeah, hey, it's true though. Allen has carried the weight of that team flaws, let's say, right? Now the team don't really have that many flaws, clearly. We have built a proper team, and that goes in the whole trust the process thing, which we all hear from every sport franchise. Like, hey, I'm the new guy in town. We're going to get things right, get the right culture. And it's usually all talk, right? They just want you to believe with it. But they finally did it. But it took time. And Allen had to go through bumps. And I feel finally now, Allen, to what you were saying, doesn't need to be used the way he was used in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Right? Now we have an offensive line that can protect for him. Now we have running backs that are capable of running the ball because we have an offensive line that could finally block. You could take a lot less pressure off Allen in these games, especially during the regular season when you don't need to be running him 164 times during the season. That's uncalled for. So that's why I had him still in 2021 above Burrow, because I just think Allen does a lot for the offense that is sometimes overlooked by a lot of people. And I think people are taking notice now, but it wasn't really taking notice in like 2020, like really what he's doing.
Well, the same way with Burrow. Burrow was told, they were saying he's going to be a bust after the first season. He's not so good. A first round pick is not so good. And for me, because Allen's got so much talent, he's got more talent than Burrow physically. he's able to do more things than Burrow. Burrow is, especially this year with the bad knee, was forced to find all success through the pass. He couldn't get out of dodge and run the way he could. He tried to, so what he did in a constricted environment with a constricted skill set, and when you really go through his numbers, the statistics are mind-blowing as far as his efficiency. He threw 70%. And he was number 2 in tight window throws. And he was 6% higher. The average quarterback would have completed 64%. But he over-completed. It was like the 3rd or 4th highest over-completion percentage in the last 6-7 years. And it's not to say I still think Josh Allen hasn't hit his peak, because if you can keep him healthy and not grind him up into the ground, when cerebrally he gets better at, like, say, 29 and 30, then you'll have a guy who can do all the physical stuff and the mental stuff, and it will take him to a higher level.
Yeah.
But Burrow, to me, he did everything through his brain. He was asked to carry the offense, got beat to snot, and they ran nickel offense all day, and they went vertical. And so for me, it was like back and forth. I'm like, I don't want to be a homer and go with Allen, and I like Burrow. And just by the end, to me, that's what really finally pushed it a little bit over. And it's not to say he's a better quarterback. It's to say last year he did more in what he had. That's just my take.
I think we'll agree to disagree on that, but that's okay. I don't think that's like a far-fetched disagreement. That's all right. I don't think that's like
I still love Allen.
Yeah, Allen, like, and to your point, I don't think he's reached his ceiling yet.
No, not at all. That's why you can't get him. You can't keep running him the way you are. Yeah. There's only so much tread on those tires. The object should be to not have this guy run, let him develop cerebrally, so when he hits that peak point of physicality and brain power, dude, he could really take. I mean, if you look at Yak, his Yak was like 17th yards after catch. You look at Mahomes and Brady and even Burrow, they were top 5. If you added that kind of Yak to Allen last year with his running attack, he'd have been close to 6,000 yards. Or I think it was like 5,500. No, it would have been 6,000 yards if you add the run yards to it. 700 yards. And I think if he tacked on the same amount of yards that Brady and Mahomes got, he'd have been at 5,500 yards passing. And then you add another 700, he'd have been over 6,000 yards.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Not hit his peak.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He definitely hasn't reached his peak. And the one thing about Allen, I don't think he's ever satisfied. Like, he knows. Listen, I think he knows by now his ability to run, his ability to throw deeper than anyone probably, or close to,
and he can fly. And he can,
vision. Like, I know he understands that, but I think he always is trying to work on his mechanics, I don't think he's satisfied, and that's what makes Allen, to me, such an awesome story. Like, just where he came from, So it's true. I mean, listen, when it's all said and done, when it's all like it's just not.
Take out Dan Marino.
It's frustrating. It's just frustrating because, man, I don't know if I think now he's getting noticed, but I still don't think people. We want to talk about the Kurt Warners and all that. I like cool stories, but he's a cool story. If he wins a Super Bowl, for Buffalo Bills, that will be one of the greatest stories ever. A guy that he was begging teams to pick him up in college, right? And then he only got 2 places, and they were terrible schools. Let's be real, Wyoming, like Eastern Michigan, it wasn't like he came from a big school and then got to the NFL and had all these great college guys to work with, and coaches that helped him. He had to earn that, and I don't know. That's why I love the kid, man.
I hate to say it, I do agree. I totally do agree. I don't think I don't think kids actually hit his peak. I don't. I really, and this is again why I say the run. If this kid can get legitimate, balanced offense,
yeah,
his ability to hit the deep ball is going to be so much easier. His ability to pick up more yards with less runs is going to be there. Everything will open up, and he'll be fresh come playoffs. Yep. And whatever. I'm sick and tired talking about your Bills.
Let's hear some more.
The greatest quarterback ever.
Let's hear some more about Josh.
Josh Allen show over here.
All right. Well, now let's watch some,
the show.
Let's watch some Josh Allen highlights, guys.
Yeah. let's sing poetry to Josh Allen for the next hour.
Right.
Oh, to Josh Allen.
Can somebody send Curtis a Josh Allen jersey, please?
I don't mind. I'd love to meet Josh Allen. I mean, I really do. I like the kid. I liked him before he even signed with the Bills. I'm just kind of getting a little annoyed listening to you. About him.
Hey, I told you, he's my man crush. Hey, let's get to the AFC South, which I think is the worst.
Is Josh Allen in the AFC South?
No, we're getting to the next one.
Okay, good, thank God. All right.
But Josh Allen rules every AFC. So let's get to the AFC South.
PTSD.
We got Tennessee. We got the Colts. You got the Texans, and you got the Jaguars. So let's start with the Jaguars. Well, actually, let's start with Houston. Actually, go ahead and start with your worst quarterback. Might as well. Is it Davis Mills? Are we in agreement, or is it?
Yeah, I think the kid. I don't think the kid's bad, but he's definitely.
I don't think so either. I thought he was second best last year out of the rookies. I thought he was right behind Mac Jones. I thought he actually played better than Mac Jones down the stretch. I thought he turned it up a little bit towards the end. Like, he had a little rough start because remember, I think Tyrod was playing at first, and then Mills came in, and then he went down for a minute, and then somebody came in. I forget the guy's name, and then Davis Mills came back in and actually had a good second half. Mm-hmm. He played better than Zach Wilson. I could tell you that. Yeah. And then Jacksonville's quarterback Lawrence, but he was with a terrible coach.
If you watch him, he was doing pretty good. It's just the consistency part. You could see the talent. You could see the talent. It was just a lack of consistency. I'm not concerned. I'm not saying he's going to be elite, but this kid's going to be able to play eventually.
So you got right now Mills right now last as far as quarterback rankings
and Lawrence.
And then you got Lawrence, okay. And then you got now here's interesting though.
No, it's not interesting at all.
This is interesting because
very clear.
What the hell are the Colts constantly doing? And I love Frank Reich.
Whatever they were doing, who cares? Ryan is going to make them very tough, dude.
You think so?
I'm going to go over Ryan's stats. I'm going to go over Ryan. I watched him play last year, so it's not
another year, another aging Ryan. Now I get what you're saying, but another year.
He had 86 hits, number one in the league by like 30 hits. This guy was beat to snot. If you go look at his list, he was.
Oh, I know.
11. Listen, he was 11th in attempts, 9th in completions. So he over-completed from his attempts. He was 11th in yards. Now, his intended air yards were 29th, so he was all a short game. But he only had 18th yak. He was even worse than Allen last year. But his bad throw pass percentage was 29th. There's only 3-4 quarterbacks better than him with all the pressure that you're going to see he gets. And he was 9th best on target. So he threw the 3rd or 4th least bad balls, and he was top 9 in on-target passes. And if you continue, he was 4th in pressure. He had the 4th most amount of pressure, was hit 86 times, and I think sacked like 40 times, which is ridiculous for an aging quarterback. And his aggressive throw percentage was 15th best. His over-completion percentage was 10th best. And, he had no rushing attack. He had 28th rushing attack and no offensive line. And Ridley, his number one guy, was gone and didn't even play well to begin with, and he was stuck with Pitts, who developed midway through the season. Ryan still got it, still has it. If he doesn't age like a dog from this year to next year, the Colts and Ryan, he could play action. He's very dangerous with play action. He's still got the passes. Some age is taking some of the deep ball off. But Ryan, to me, when we were doing the list over here, I had Ryan like ninth best quarterback in the NFL last year.
I don't know, man. I my problem with Ryan is this.
Thank you, Sophia. We're going to need all the root we can get.
Yeah, you see, I put that up for a reason.
Him, because we're the
My problem with Ryan is the age, one, right? He's aging.
He's not that old. He's like 37.
He's aging. He is not mobile at all. Like he does not get out of the pocket.
Doesn't mean he's got the number one running tack in the NFL.
I get that, number one, but they also lost some. They also lost some offensive linemen, right? They got lost Saffold and Queensberry, right? To the Buffalo Bills.
Titans. That's the Titans.
I'm sorry, to the Titans. I'm sorry, the Colts. So the Colts have a good offensive line.
If Nelson can stay healthy.
You're right, but can they exactly? So, who's their receiver? They got
Robinson Jr. 6'4", 220.
Not him. The other guy they got for the Colts.
I don't think he's there anymore.
Yeah, he's there. He is there. Let me pull him up now.
Colts. Yeah, they lack a little bit as far as
they don't have receivers. That's what I'm trying to say. I forget the main receiver last year was
yeah, he's not there anymore.
No, you're right. See, he's not even there. So they got Paris Campbell, right? They got I don't even know this guy's name. Cody, Crawford, Dolan, Harris. I mean, they don't have anybody. Pittman Jr. is maybe their best receiver, right? Pittman.
Yeah, he's on the verge of being a star, though. He's on the verge of being a star.
So I mean, he doesn't have a lot of talent on the outside, but Indy's been down this road before, I guess is my point with aging quarterback, right? So they started with Phillip Rivers, right? In 2020.
Was washed up.
He was washed up, but he wasn't. But he led them to the playoffs, and he actually had a very good game against the Bills, which we squeezed by. And then he retired, or they got rid of him to bring in Carson Wentz, who was a total. I don't know what's going on with Wentz. Like I feel like that's like Wentz is like the one guy that played for the Bears. What's his name? That's not in the league anymore. No, not Trubisky.
The other dude. Yeah, I remember he went to the Super Bowl. What's his name?
Yeah, played for the Broncos too, or whatever. Pissy attitude. Cutler. Kind of he reminds me a little like Cutler. He has the tools, but he's just not he's not a team guy. Like he's just not he doesn't care, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he tries to do a little bit too much. He had one of the worst performances against Jacksonville when the game counted. I mean, how do you lose that game?
You know, he had 27 touchdowns and 7 picks.
I know.
But he only had 62 pass completion percentage.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see the Colts with a very good receiving corps to help him. I mean, I like Pittman, but
Tommy, you can come back and make fun of me. Matt Ryan is still
I don't think Matt. I think he's okay. I think he's all right. So you got him ahead of Tannehill in this division, quarterback?
Easy. It's not to say Tannehill's bad. Matt Ryan still has very, very high skills. And he played at if you look at it's the same thing. If you look at the framework, it creates context for the performance. When you check Matt Ryan's performance, he was top 10 or just around that, despite having a bottom 5 framework. And to me, that says volumes. He had one of the worst offensive lines in football. They could not run. He was one of the top 2 worst running games in the league. They had no offensive talent. They had Pitts, and that's it. And the running back they had, who plays receiver, but he was out for most of the season. They had nothing, and they had no defense. And this guy was getting hammered. I'm telling you, the Colts are extraordinarily dangerous. I'm not saying they're good enough to do whatever because I worry about their defense and the ability to stop the run. But with that run game now, you come up and you try to stop that run game, Matt Ryan will make you pay. It's a
if he could stay healthy, he's getting older. I mean, but to your point,
with you.
to your point, I will say this. Looking at his stats, yeah, I mean, he hasn't really lost too much. So, like, 2021, almost 4,000 yards. Yeah, I mean, 20 touchdowns.
And he was 18th in Yak.
Yeah, I mean,
18th in Yak, and he had
4,000 yards. Before that, he hasn't had a season. Before last season, I mean, 4,500, 4,400, 4,900, 4,000, 4,900, 4,500, 4,600, 4,500, 4,100, 40. He hasn't had under that since 2010.
I still can play.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll give him. I guess you know, maybe I'm a little bit too hard on his age.
Because the team sucks.
Yeah, they did, but he did have talent.
I think he's a little bit of a choker. A little bit. Not like a choker, but I don't buy the Matty Ice thing. I think he's a little bit of a nervous Nelly sometimes. I don't know if he's got the juice to go over the top. He's real close, though. I'm not saying he's a choker in any way. I just don't know if he's got that last oomph. But if you look at him in the Super Bowl, he had his chance. But it wasn't his fault. They took the ball out of his hands and got conservative.
He had his chance. That's on coaching too, though. I don't know what that. Yeah, that's on coaching. All right, so
you watch.
Hey, we'll see. But I'm not. I'm still not worried. I still. We'll find out. All right, so let's get to the last.
He's going to have 10,000 yards this year, and he's going to run for 2,000.
10,000 yards pass. All right, last division.
Matt Ryan shirt at the end of the year. All right.
Yeah, this guy Matt Ryan freak over here. All right, let's go to the AFC West, which I think is going to be a division where there's going to be a few 10 win or 11 win teams. I mean, this is going to be tough, Curtis. So, who do you got here? I mean, this is Denver, Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs, all good quarterbacks. So, what do you got here? Who's the worst of this division? That's tough. Carr?
No. Look, I'm not saying what's happening.
Wilson?
I'm not basing it on what's happening this year. I'm simply basing it on last year's performance and notching them based on that. I'm not talking about talent or history or anything. I'm looking at last season and what was accomplished and then putting the hierarchy there. But if you look at last year, dude, Carr was way better than Mahomes. Like, way better, dude.
Okay.
Mahomes, if you look at – now, this is nothing to knock on Mahomes. The guy's super talented. It's not – but if you look at him last year, right, his intended air yards were 25th. Uber conservative game. He was number one in yak yards. Number one. He was number 6 in bad percentage throws. And his on target was 11. So he threw a lot of bum balls, but still was on target, but still threw a lot of bum balls. He was 21st in pressure, so he didn't really receive a lot of pressure. He was aggressive throws, 38th. He was getting schemed open. His receivers were schemed open and getting open, and there was a lot of him scrambling and throwing to open receivers. There was not aggressive throwing, and he was 25th in over completion percentage. So 24 other quarterbacks over completed. He was like minus 2.3%. So he underachieved on many, many levels. I mean, the guy still helped him with the pass and the run, but he had a down year. You look at the stats, and it's still like those are good stats. But when you compare him to the other quarterbacks, Herbert outplayed him, Carr outplayed him, and Wilson, I don't know about Wilson, man. There's so many curiosities with his play.
Going on the limb and saying Mahomes is towards the bottom of this division as far as quarterbacks?
Just based off last year. He could come back and be number one But
going into this season, but this is coming from Curtis, guys. This is Curtis. Going into right now, as we speak today, your list is
Herbert, Carr, Mahomes, Wilson.
Wow.
Just look. Look. I'm just basing it on stats. It's not my feelings or anything.
I got you.
Oh, look. If you look
but wait a minute. But what if you throw stats out the door for real quick? Like hypothetically.
Look, talent-wise,
I know stats matter, but what if you throw the stats out the door?
Talent-wise is different.
Right, but not just talent though. What about games? What about coming up clutch when it matters? Does that take into consideration? Because I do.
But football's a team sport. It's based on a system.
No, I get that, but quarterback will always be the focal point of the offense. He'll be the leader. He's the one that makes, like, no matter what, right? Like, that's the whole part. That's why they're paid the most, right? They're going to take the heat. So from what I saw, a lot of times, Derek Carr, he hasn't closed the show like as much as a Mahomes would, or Russell Wilson, or Herbert. Now, he also missed the playoffs, right? Like multiple times, like when they were supposed to make the playoffs.
But you're saying that it's based. I'm talking about the quarterback play of last year. Just as an example, Carr was 10th in attended air yards. So he was earning his yards by being vertical. Mahomes was 15 spots down. They were throwing short and letting the receivers make their plays. He was number one in yak. Carr was 4. But when you look
which
at
is pretty good. Compared to Allen at 15, 17th.
Yeah. But remember, if you're going vertical, you're getting that ball to the receiver at a deep route, and then they're making the yak. It's a much more difficult pass, and it's a higher difficulty level throw. Where if you're 25th and you're throwing bubble screens and you're throwing, quick outs and all this other stuff, 25th. Do you know that? Okay, here's an example. The intended air yards of Mahomes last year was 7.3. The actual caught air yards was 4.9, which was less than Tua. Tua was 7.0 and 5.5. Mahomes was 7.3 and 4.9. So this has nothing to do with Mahomes' talent, but this is the performance from last year. And I don't know, is it going to change this year? Is Andy Reid going to call differently? Are they going to run the football? See, Andy Reid, I think, is a limiter on Mahomes because he wants to play fun ball all day, much like Dable. Where last year, Carr had a more balanced system. They were more vertical. He had to earn it with his own abilities. I mean, if you say who's a better quarterback, Mahomes is the better quarterback. He's got way more talent. But if you're in a bad system and your coach is hard-headed, in the end, you're going to be subject to that. And when you play a team that's a better coach team that runs things the right way, you're going to lose. Maybe not every time, but Carr outplayed Mahomes last year. Mahomes had a down season. I mean, you think about Andy Reid.
Last season.
Yeah, think about
I agree with that.
With the Bengals. He could have just kicked the field goal, try to run in or call timeout or whatever, and he tries to do this ridiculous pass that costs him the game. And it's not Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. If Andy Reid commits to the run, Mahomes will be just as dangerous and deadly as Allen if he gets a balanced attack. But will Andy Reid? He's never done it. He is always passed his way. Look at him in the Super Bowl when they lost to Brady. You lose both your tackles, and what do? Let's go deep. You got to run the football and mitigate it with short pass plays.
Kurt is so fast.
I'm not too focused on stats. I'm just saying this is based on last year. If you want me to tell you talent level, Mahomes is number 1, Herbert's number 2, Wilson's number 3, and Carr's number 4.
Oh, man.
But it's based on – I'm basing it on last year's performance. How do I know? Will Andy Reid go, you know what, guys? We're going to throw it 70 times a game this year. It's fun ball. And Mahomes is going to have another bad season like this. He won't go to the playoffs, or he won't get home field advantage if they do that same thing as last year. Again, they won't have Tyreek Hill, how many catches did he make? A number 1 yak yards. I wonder how many of those yak yards were given to them by Hill. You take that away, and what do you have? Now you got Carr, who's got the dude from the Packers. It's based on systems, and the quarterback thrives through a system, or he folds. So
I get you. I'm
not saying Carr is a better quarterback. I'm basing it on last year's performance.
I get it. I get it. I can't put Carr ahead of Mahomes right now. I get what you're saying.
He had a better season last year. Did Carr
have a better season? But are we going by what he did last season? I'm talking about going into. Okay,
I'm not basing it on talent. I'm not basing it on. I'm just basing it on last year. I'm just basing it on the performance from last year. Who's the pecking order?
So you're right.
Let's say Mahomes first, Herbert, Wilson, and then Carr. But we all know that. But if you actually look
even Herbert, though, for as good as he's been playing since he came out as a rookie, has fallen and he's dropped the ball in games that they should have won, or he's played bad down the stretch, right? It's like, so you got to start. When I look at a player, it's not even a quarterback, like running back, receiver, right, edge, whatever the position. I look at it as a whole, right? It's not, because it's not always about stats. There could be a defensive lineman that doesn't get many sacks, but he helps out the guy next to him to get. So I don't look at just stats I get what you're saying, but just because he had better stats or whatever than Mahomes doesn't. I don't see him being a better quarterback going into this season.
But that's my point. Is I'm not saying he's a better quarterback. I'm saying based on last year, what's the pecking order going into?
You love it, Daniel.
Sorry, guys.
All right, so I got my order. Curtis got his. Listen, this could be debated, and I agree with Curtis in a way too. It's tough. That's what makes the AFC West the toughest division of football, in my opinion. I don't know who I have honestly. They better. There's always a game or two in the NFL season that a team loses to a team they shouldn't have. This season for that AFC West, it's going to come down to what team makes that mistake against a team they should have beaten, and it might cost them a playoff, because there's going to be a couple teams here that could win 10, 11, 12 possibly. I mean, that may not make the playoffs because there's only so many teams that can. So it's going to be an interesting race. I'm glad we're not in it, but crazy. So Curtis, 2 hours, and Daniel, he's falling asleep on us, and we're gonna finish it. So we're gonna finish the show with Curtis's final thoughts. So Curtis, final thought, man. What you got for us, man? Close us out.
Again, I'll say it. We just talked about the quarterbacks, all these awesome quarterbacks, and you go and you look through all these teams. There's only 3 teams that are not going to be listed, as possible contenders. This is going to be. I watch my Dolphins. I watch my Bills. If I cover them for the podcast, I watch it. But there's going to be so much must-TV watch. I never realized Ryan was going to be as good. I kind of knew it was but then when I did the studies of what he performed last year, all of a sudden Colts vaulted to the top. I don't know. You said there's going to be great quarterbacks and great teams that are going to get left holding the bag. And as much as it's going to hurt some of us, I don't think your Bills are going to be one of them. I think my Dolphins could be. There's going to be – I just feel like there's going to be more good football than we're used to. And I think you're going to be able to watch all day long and really have a good time. So I think a very exciting season.
I love Curtis's final thoughts, man. And
the Bills being great. That's why.
And once again, I appreciate everybody that came out tonight. Daniel, appreciate you, man, sticking out for 2 hours. Joey, man, you came in late, but you got to stick around for at least an hour, so that's good. Somebody please tell me this guy loves Derek Kerr so much he's done absolutely nothing. Ooh, Joey's very mad at you.
No, it's not. Again, I'm basing it. All I was doing was basing it off last year's performance and putting a pecking order based. It's not about. I said that at the very beginning. It's not about the talent of the quarterback. It's not about the history that he's had. Quarterbacks are based in the framework, how good their offensive line is, how good their receivers are, how good their coaching is. And it'd be boring for me to say the same old, same old. Mahomes first, Herbert second, Wilson third, Carr. But I didn't realize how good Carr's season was. But if you look at how well Carr played last year, he outplayed Mahomes by a long mile. So that's my point. It's not about who's the better quarterback. It's who played what last year. You got me into a
and Joey, by the way, that's my buddy, and that's Mr. Curtis, man. That's this guy, and he's a great guy.
Carr is not better than Mahomes, but he had a much better season.
And by the way, Joey and everybody, if you just tuned in for this episode, you missed the one we did 3 weeks ago. This is going to be our new show every Friday. Starting with we're going to be live every Friday when the season starts. So once preseason starts, me and Curtis will be here every Friday at 9:00. For now, in the off season, we'll do a show every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the news, OTAs, if there's anything that we could pile up enough to talk over 2 hours. By the way, this is 2 hours because we haven't been on here in 3 weeks. So normally we're not going to be on for 2 hours, but I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I appreciate everybody for hopping on. By the way, look out for a special trailer Monday. I don't know what time, on my channel on Buffalo Fanbase. It's going to be exciting. It's a 5-part event that we're going to be doing, and I'm excited. And look out for the trailer. And that's really all I got to say. So go Bills. Curtis, you got anything to say before we head out of here?
I need an extra shot of Geritol.
So we're going to play. We're going to play the greatest outro of all time, and we are out of here. Go Bills. Peace out. Peace.